All right, everybody, welcome back to Salt City Counseling. Once again, my name is Scott Carter. I am a licensed therapist, and this topic is complex and sticky. I get this question all the time. Parents approach me with this problem all the time, and problem is most of the time in situations like this, a lot of parents just want a quick, easy answer. They want a quick, easy fix. And a lot of times it has to do with changing the entire system, okay? You have to think of your family as like a, quote The Incredibles, like a clock with all the cogs moving in together. And you can't just expect one cog to change when it has two others cranking it. Uh, Kids behave the way that they do for specific reasons. Often it is an adjustment to their environment. And there's several reasons why kids might show low motivation, and I'll get back to that in a second. But the way that parents go about addressing it often doesn't work. So to me, unmotivated kids are usually a sign of two major things. One, likely depression, and they're actually related. And two, are parents that care more about the kid's problems than the kid does. If you're always swooping in and saving your kid from the consequences of their choices and their actions, the consequences and the challenge of life will be lost. Kids tell me all the time, life seems pointless. They're not challenged, so therefore they're depressed. Depressed kids, okay? And I hear this all the time from parents where they say, I have high standards, I have high expectations, I'm really driven, and I just want the same for them. Well, if the kid's depressed, think of your relationship also as like a transmission. If you're in neutral, you hit the gas and all you do is you get a lot of noise. You don't go anywhere. You have to put your relationship in gear. It has to be plugged in and in gear. So if you're hitting the gas and you feel like all you do is get a lot of noise and you don't get anywhere with your kid, you have to come at this from a different approach. You can't motivate your kid by yelling and screaming at them. You can't motivate your kid by punishing them. I talk about this all the time. If your kid is unmotivated, and if your kid is depressed, you don't improve their attitude. You don't improve their level of motivation by punishing them. You don't. You don't beat someone up because they have a bad attitude and go improve your attitude. Okay. And I know a lot of parents might think, well, I'm not trying to punish them. If your kid sees it as punishment, then you've lost them. You may think of this as, oh, I'm doing this for your own good, and to a degree that can be effective if your relationship is working. If your relationship isn't working, you're just going to lose them. The other thing that I'm pretty vocal about usually is the L word, lazy. I don't like the L word. I don't like lazy. To me, it's just a label that we put on people that don't show as much effort as we want them to. So we say, oh, you're lazy. To me, when I hear lazy, what I think of is unmotivated and likely depressed. And lazy is it's a useless term, and it's a useless approach. It doesn't help, it doesn't work to approach an unmotivated teenager by telling them the millionth time how lazy they are. That just drives them back down the hole of them not being motivated. And kids live up to what they believe they are. If they believe they're lazy, that's how they're gonna act. I've just learned that. The more that I treat a kid like they're capable, and there's very specific ways to go about this, but the more I treat the kid that they are doing great, even if they're not, the more likely they are to live up to that. And just an example is, grades. Parents do this where they're like, little Billy has 2 D's and an F. But he also has several A's and a couple of B's. So if you sort of ignore the F's and the D's and you focus on the A's and the B's and you go, see how smart you are? See? But kids only hear about the D's and the F's. We are programmed to have limitations. We are programmed to focus on where we have failed or fallen short. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So if you want to motivate an unmotivated teenager, one is that you've got to stop trying to drag them up the mountain. It's like I want them up there, and they're not doing it, so I'm gonna yell at them until they make a couple of reluctant steps, or I'm gonna pick them up and carry them. and they get almost no benefit out of that. Mostly they just end up resenting you. So here's the question, right? How do I motivate my unmotivated teenager? Well, one is you have to focus on the positives. You just do. You just got to focus on what's going well, what they're doing right. Two, you have to emphasize the positive beliefs about them, of capability, of the positive things. I love how smart you are. See how capable you are? Oh, that's great that you did that. But again, you show me a kid who gets two F's and a D, and that's all they hear about, even if they have several A's. Focus on the A's. I'm working with a kid, and his parents walked in and they're waving his grades around, and here, you take care of that. Like I'm gonna scold the kid or something. Like that's my job. Like I'm there to be like, well, you need to get it together, because they haven't already heard that. I looked at the kid's grades while he's sitting there with me, and he drops his head like this, right? He's kind of giving that, and I look at his grades. He had like a couple of A's and a couple of B's, and I was like, oh, you got an A in English. That's great. And oh, it looks like you've got a B plus in history or whatever. That's great. Good job. And immediately he kind of like, oh, thanks. It's simple, man. It's simple. And parents, the culture and the current trend of parenting is to just focus on the negative and yell at them for what they're not doing well. And maybe it's always been that way. I don't know. I haven't been a therapist in previous generations. If you also want to motivate an unmotivated teenagers, I have three principles of motivation: autonomy, which is giving them choices and giving them freedom; incentives instead of punishments. Okay, hey, if you get your homework done, we'll order pizza for dinner. Or hey, if you get your grade up by the end of the week, we'll hit the batting cages. Whatever, okay? Autonomy. Incentives instead of punishments. And I've already hit on this one. Is positive reinforcements. Focus on the positives. If you go heavy on these three, you're going to see a change. But here's the other trick, is you can't care more about their problems than they do. For the most part, kids want to do good. They want to do well at school. They want to not have problems. They want to be happy and healthy. We just got to stop getting in their way. So parents, I generally find, with a lot of their approaches and their methods, they ended up just getting in the way. It's like they have the kid and the parent have the same goals, but because the kid doesn't put in the effort when and where exactly when the parents expect it and to what degree, then suddenly it's a problem. You guys have the same goals. You just need to learn to work together. But if you empower them to be responsible for their own stuff instead of just yelling at them, there's really very specific approaches. So I work hard. I have developed my methods over the years rigorously on channeling the positive ways to get kids moving, having good relationships, actually empowering a kid, teaching them responsibility when they're young. They need this stuff. So make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel, because I will be publishing my course on my parenting 4x4 hopefully in the next month or so. I'm hoping. Work is picking up. There's a lot of mental health issues going on right now. So again, make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. You know what to do. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.